We have now reached a point in society where there's documentaries being made about parents exploiting their kids online. Wow, who would have thought blasting your kids' faces all over the internet would have been a terrible idea? But after watching the recent documentary about Ruby Frankie and what she did with her kids and the 8 Passengers YouTube channel, I thought to myself, yeah, but what about the men? Because, men also need representation in the space as well. God forbid a woman has anything anymore. What's going on, party people? How are y'all doing? And today I want to explore the terrible dads of YouTube. But before we get any further, press subscribe, because for every subscriber we get, a dad out there in the world decides to put the camera down and not start a family vlog channel, but instead decides to talk to his kids to form a relationship with them. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, Warwick, what's your relationship like with your dad? I would say that's between me and my therapist. And whoever buys tickets to my comedy shows, which you can find if you follow me on Instagram. Real quick, I actually do have a show to promote. I am performing at Little Mountain Gallery next week in downtown Vancouver for my first ever roast battle. Here is the poster, and you can find all the details for the show below in the description. Now, I want to start things off light, okay? I'm going to turn the dial back to one of the godfathers of YouTube, the Shaytards. And if you're wondering, Shaytards, is that like some kind of resemblance of the name? Yep, it is. I researched it for this video, but I can't say it because I'll get demonetized. But you can put 2 and 2 together as to why they thought of that name, Shaytards. Fun stuff. It's crazy that 15 years ago, you could get away with shit like that and still get a gold play button. Times have changed so much over YouTube. So the Shaytard channel, oh my god, why is that so hard to say? We could probably look at the Shaytard channel as like a case study, as one of like the original family channels. Obviously, this family garnered a massive audience and are still posting to this day, and they have millions and millions of views, and we watched the entire family grow up together. Now, I'm not trying to say that the exploitation was really bad. If we're looking at the scale of the Ruby Frankie documentary, we're pretty vanilla here, okay, folks? There's nothing too bad. But a few years ago, a cam girl came out and exposed all of these crazy DMs from the father of the channel, Carl Shay. Here is the screenshots here blurred. They're unblurred on my Patreon, but this is the craziest thing I've ever seen, because this is a Mormon family, by the way. Why is it always the Mormon families? That's all I want to know. Why is it always the Mormon families? The religious psychosis is real with them. Now, the reason why I would say that this is a terrible dad is because he's still in the picture of the family, right? And they're all acting like as if nothing happened. He did like some, note screenshot apology online, and that's as far as it went in terms of trying to rectify himself online. And he stood back because he's like, hey baby, I got millions of dollars, I don't need the online fame anymore. So that's a smart move. But is this a shitty dad? No. But is it hilarious? Absolutely. And we're going to continue the light stuff here and talk about Roman Atwood. Now, again, Roman Atwood, probably one of the biggest like family channels. Again, we watched his entire kids grow up, which I think it's weird, right? Even if it is positive, it seemed like they had a sick life, right? They were ripping around in the backyard on 4-wheelers, and I was like, damn, that's kind of like my childhood, because I grew up in like a redneck situation. But the reason why I think Roman Atwood had a negative effect on people, and not because he started dating his wife when she was a teenager and he was in his 20s, look it up, it's a real thing, is because his influence garnered a whole bunch of other dads that came out and exploited their kids for online fame. And I'm just gonna say it again, I think Roman might have done a good job here with his kids. Their kids look like they turned out all right. But the Atwood family's influence showed dads across the world that were going through a midlife crisis. I could get a sports car, I could date my secretary, but we've got a new thing that's unlocking here. Picking up the camera and exploiting the kids for money. And that is what DaddyOFive did. Now, with DaddyOFive, or as Mike as the guy's name is, I feel like he just watched all of Roman Atwood and thought to himself, yo, let's do that shit, but on a budget. And I feel like there are parents out there, like dads like Mike, that saw this stuff and saw the pranks on the kids and was like, hey, we gotta start pranking our kids. But, there's rules and regulations around hitting your kids now, but if we mask it as a fun prank, we can get away with it. Loopholes are crazy. That's like kind of giving your kid like a $20 note after hitting them, and it's like, hey, don't tell anyone this, okay? All right? Don't tell anyone that we did this kind of stuff, all right? This is between you and me. And I feel like that's exactly what he did with his kids. Roman Atwood probably would have given his kids like a sick F-150 and all this kind of stuff, but DaddyOFive, they didn't have that kind of budget. So, you know, it was Eggos and a $5 bill every now and then for hitting his kids online. And the reason why I'm laughing at this is because justice was served and he lost custody of his kids. And honestly, I feel like that point, well, I think it was like 2017 or something when that all happened. At that point, I feel like that's when the government should have stepped in and was like, hey, you can't do what Roman Atwood did. You don't have the type of money. So there's a law in place now, okay? And that would have stopped family channels from happening. You know, I feel like that canon event, if there was laws and bills passed in the government, could have saved a lot of headaches. Although film studios wouldn't have really cool documentaries now. It's a catch-22, you know what I'm saying? Now, this video is a short one, right? This is a rapid fire. This is very much just talking about the very baseline issues that I have with these families and these dads and what they're doing with their kids. You can look it up in your own time, but damn, I went down a rabbit hole and there were so many points in research for this video where I was just straying away from the main point of them just being a terrible dad. You know, I found so many cases of these dudes scamming their fans, and I'm like, well, that's not inherently from the kids themselves, but the kids are the reason why they have a platform in the first place. But anyways, if you want to do research online, I'm sure there are so many better, well-researched videos out there for him. But moving right along, we're going to talk about Austin McBroom. And I think by now we all know about the McBroom family, or the Ace family as they are known on YouTube, and just all the crappy things Austin did exploiting his kids online for money and clout. I don't even want to talk about all like the scams and all the other shit that he ran. I was researching this video and I was like, I'm straying away from the original point here. You know, the first time I ever heard of the Ace family was when Austin was filming his kid in a store and she had like sex toys and stuff. Dude, what are you doing? What makes you think that's a good idea? You know, that's something that happens in the real life, and you might take a photo, but you share it with your immediate family. You put it in the family group chat. You don't put it on a YouTube channel for millions of people to see. But I think the biggest crime Austin is found guilty of is just being cringe. And you can see it in the channel. I don't know. I'm saying this as someone that's probably close to Austin's age, right? You know, I'm almost in my mid-30s. And if I was out here putting videos on YouTube, putting on like the YouTube of family-friendly voice, like, okay, guys, today we're going to do this and it's going to be crazy, I would be in psychosis for sure. And I think that's what happened with him, because he had his midlife crisis in real time, his crash out where he bought an RV and through the whole divorce, okay, which is funny. You know, I feel like the divorce happened because he started out one of his videos being like, today, guys, we're going to do something crazy. And his wife came up and she was like, Austin, honey, put the camera down. We need to have a talk. You're a grown-ass man and you're talking like a child. Okay, we need to stop this, okay? All right? Me and the kids, we're going to go stay at my mom's place for a little bit, all right? That's what we're going to do. And you're going to find your voice, your real voice, not this whatever the hell it is you're doing. Honestly, man, I hope your kids were homeschooled, because if they go to a public school and the kids know who they are, they're going to get bullied so hard. They're going to get bullied so hard because you're such a cringe dad. All right. Are you a terrible dad? Probably. But are you more cringe than terrible? I would say so. I think that needs to be a new documentary series, right? The cringe families of YouTube. Because I don't know. As a grown-ass dude, people my age have kids that are in school and stuff. If you started talking like that, it's like, dude, what drugs are you on? Chill the out. All right. Be a normal guy. What is this fake stuff that you're doing online for money, all right? So why is a dude in his mid-30s making a YouTube video about crappy dads? You know, I think we all know that family channels are bad. Well, I've always had a big hate for family channels, right? And I think there should be laws in place protecting kids more. But I actually went to like a YouTube convention like a few years ago. Oh, okay, yeah, boo me all you want. Boo me all you want. I was working for a YouTuber and it was a free vacation to LA, okay? Of course I'm gonna take it. But while I was at this convention, I was approached by this woman who ran a family channel, and I was like, oh, look, I'm not a YouTuber, because at the time I wasn't really making YouTube videos. I was like, I'm not a YouTuber, but I'm an editor. And she said, oh, great, we run all these family channels with millions of subscribers, and we're looking for like a team of editors to work together. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Your kids are funding a whole production house here. Conspiracy theorists always like to talk about how people in Hollywood are exploiting kids to have money and, you know, all the wild conspiracies around that. But no one's talking about the evidence of kids being exploited online to fund a whole production houses. That's another reason why I wanted to make this video. Anyways, lastly, we're going to tie it back to religion. We're going to tie it back to being crappy dads. We're going to talk about the LaBrant family. Now, there are so many videos out there about Cole LaBrant, all the crappy things that he's done of exploiting his kids online. He made a YouTube video about like his daughter speed dating a whole bunch of dudes online, and she was like 14 at the time. What are you doing, dude? That is insane. How is YouTube doesn't have a thing in place where you go to upload and now they're just like, hold up, no thank you, this is a hard no for me, okay? This is definitely not what you're supposed to be doing. But I think the biggest crime that Cole has made with his family and obviously exploiting his kids online to fund his luxurious lifestyle is he is now evading California to move to Tennessee, I believe, because California are putting in place protection around kids. You know, they're having this thing where it's like, hey, if you have a family channel, that's great and all, but 30% of your revenue has to be locked away for the kid. And they're just like, hold on. Hold on. I can't buy my third mansion because my kid wants a piece of this pie? No, thank you. I pay the bills around here. That's my mansion. And like, I know I'm laughing about it and I shouldn't, but man, these are such people where it's so obvious that you don't care about your kids. You don't care about having this family channel for the family. You just care about lining your pockets. Wow, corporations equal bad. Who would have seen that one coming? And you know, the guy's religious. He made a whole documentary about why abortion's bad. Like, dude, shut up. Honestly. Then again, free speech is available, so I can tell you to shut up and you're a bozo. You can't do nothing about it. So what's the solution here? Outlaw family channels. Yeah, I know, it's not a hot take here, but we should not be glorifying this and having this online. This is more common than we actually think, and it's disgusting that this is still continuing to happen, if I'm maybe serious here for a moment. It's crazy these people are making millions upon millions of dollars and they don't want to share it with their kids. And in the research of this video, I actually found testimonies from kids that grew up in family vlog channels and how they were robbed of a childhood because their parents were more interested in filming them for online fame than paying attention to them as a parent. And you are choosing to put yourself first and your money and your fame over your kids' lives. And that sucks. That's all I want to say, really. Do you know how people always say, just put the fries in the bag, bro? People are going to say, Dad, just put the camera down, bro. Wow, this was more serious than I would have thought. Don't watch these bozos. I think that's what we could do. If we all stopped watching these channels and their revenue went down, they would have to get real jobs. And they would have to provide for their families. And they would have to actually sit down at dinner and have a conversation with them. Wild concept. Am I speaking on personal experience? Nope. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.